So, the eternal question which a lot of women ask themselves has to be whether it's possible to have it all or not. To have a successful career, to follow your dreams, to have a family, also to find quality time with your family, and to find some time for yourself as well. The person we have as a guest today answers these questions quite beautifully, and the answer is yes. Yes, it's possible to have a successful career. It is possible to have a family. Our guest today has an enviable chain of restaurants. She's a successful entrepreneur. She's a mom of two. Hell, she's even a mom dog. She's authored a book. What has she not done? Welcome, Rachel. It's so good to have you on the podcast today, and welcome to Meet the Mom.
Thank you, Neha. Thank you for having me.
So let's just dive right into it, Rachel. How do you do it all? You seem to be running a really successful business. You find time to author a book. You just had your second baby. You have a dog. You read. I did see that you are like a reader as well. How do you do it?
I have 9 dogs actually, not
Oh my
one.
God! Wow. Really, you have 9 dogs.
Yes.
Awesome.
At one last year around this time we had 14.
Oh, that is so cool. I mean, yeah, there's never a dull moment in your house then. I'm quite
No,
sure.
it's chaotic. I like to call it organized chaos.
That's wonderful. It has to be organized since you get so much done.
Try to at least.
So tell us, what is your secret? How are you doing all of it?
I don't think there's any secret behind it. Honestly speaking, I have an amazing support system. Without one, I don't think most people would manage to do much, even if it's something as simple as just going to work. If you don't have a good support system, especially now when your kids can't go to school and everybody's stuck at home, having that support system is extremely important. So I have two amazing nannies. My mom helps out a lot. My husband steps in as and when he can. So that has been a huge game changer for me. And just knowing that your kids are in good hands when you're not at home just gives you that peace of mind to sort of focus on the other things that you need to focus on. So I
That's so
think I'll
true.
start with that, and second would just have to be time management. I don't think there's a substitute for good time management.
Very well said. I think, speaking of which, not many people are aware of the power of time management and the power of scheduling. And I think to be successful at what you do, yes, for a woman, even for a man for that matter, for a parent, it's very important to be at peace that your children are being taken care of. Other than that, the way to get things done has to be scheduling and managing your time well. So, tell us a little bit about it. Tips for working mothers and for women to really how to handle their time and to manage their time. What is the key?
Honestly speaking, I know this sounds really sort of cliche, but getting a good night's sleep is so important because you can actually get so much done if you get to bed early and you sleep early. So my husband and I have been trying to do that lately, where we just, lights out at a certain time, and no matter what happens, we're up at a certain time. So at least that gives us some, me time in the morning. So I go to the gym.
Yeah,
Um, he likes to get into work about an hour before everybody else and just organize himself for the day. So
yeah,
it's honestly just something as simple as just getting a good night's rest, because if you're well rested, then you're in a better mind space as well to plan your day better and to actually get the most out of your day. I don't think it's necessary when people say that 24 hours a day is sort of not enough. I think it's important to also take a break. It's important to take a step back, and it's important to sort of introspect quite a bit, because people sort of take for granted the fact that you have to be just mentally in a happy space and in a peaceful space.
That's true. I think very rightly so because we have, especially now, being busy has been glorified so much that taking a break and taking a little time off for yourself has really taken a back seat. And for you to say that to get that time in the morning to refresh your mind, it's so important, and not many give it importance. Like people have
No,
completely
a
forgotten,
lot of
especially
people
now.
don't give it importance, and like you rightfully said, I think people take it as a virtue to be a workaholic. I mean, I consider myself a
Absolutely.
workaholic, but I'm not working 24/7. I mean, I'm constantly thinking. I keep writing things down as and when an idea comes to me, I'll sort of make a note of it. But it doesn't mean that I have to drop everything that I'm doing and just attend to it right away. So it's been a definite game changer, especially having a second baby, which has sort of made me realize how
Yeah.
important it is to sort of be in the right space of mind.
Absolutely, working smart and also working,
Correct.
planning things ahead of time. And so, speaking of your second baby, tell us how has the transition been from a three people unit moving into a family of two kids? I think it's quite a change, and how has that been for you?
It's honestly been really nice. So my daughter Amalia is the first girl in my husband's family in the last 40 years. So
Wow,
she's everybody is just over the moon and really really happy about the fact that finally we've got a girl in the family. So
wonderful!
it's nice, and I
Congratulations.
thank you. I've been shopping loads for her, and I'm sort of just channeling that whole girliness through her, and it's been fun. I mean,
Absolutely,
I've loved having a son, and now I have a daughter too. So for me, it's just the best of both worlds, and I can't sort of
absolutely. You're
wait
the lucky
for her
ones.
to grow up a little bit and just see, watch her personality develop. I think that's one of the most fun things about being a parent is just when you watch your kids develop their own personality and sort of become their own person.
That's true. That is actually quite beautiful. And I think to be able to nurture that, and when they grow up and you see a little bit of you also somewhere, that's also quite beautiful.
Yeah, my
So
son, for
that's great.
example,
I
looks
think,
exactly like my husband, but his personality is exactly like mine. So it's a really fun combination. So I keep saying, I hope our daughter looks like me, and I hope she ends up having her father's personality because he's a very
I
grounded and
think so,
and
yeah.
I'm all over the place, and you can
Yeah.
see that with my son.
Yeah. I think it will be a really cool combination with the two of them then.
Yeah,
So what are the special plans for Rakhi? I think this has to be the first one for your son
yeah.
with his sister. So what are you guys planning? I think it must be a big event coming up.
I mean, not so much so because I think both of them are still quite young, but I have to say I'm very happy about the fact that because a lot of my friends who've had a second baby sort of warned me in advance, saying that just watch out and they're going to get jealous and they're going to be very protective and very
Yeah,
territorial about their stuff. And thankfully, my son has been the absolute opposite. He's so protective of his sister. He's constantly protective about her things, about her room.
that
He's
is so
just
sweet.
very loving and very, very sweet. And he's constantly telling me things like, "Shall we buy Amalia flowers because she's such a pretty girl?" And
Oh my
just
God,
really cute stuff like that. So I'm just
how
excited for
endearing to
him to
see the
sort of
two of them.
understand that there's this day that celebrates the sibling bond, and I already got him a really cool car, Rakhi. So looking forward
That is
to
exciting.
him seeing that. Yeah.
So, tell me, Rachel, like you said, that it is quite common for the sibling to feel jealous when the second baby arrives. Your son has taken it quite beautifully. Do you think that you guys did something, or maybe speak to him about the arrival of his sister or a sibling in advance? That might have helped. Were there any things that you think you did?
Oh, we were preparing Kabir from day one because we knew that, I mean, by the time they turn 3, they're very well aware of their surroundings and what's happening. And
True,
obviously,
true,
being in a lockdown where they're so used to seeing mom and dad at home all the time, and then
right.
suddenly having that attention taken away is not something that,
Hmm.
a child can process that easily. So we started preparing Kabir from day one, and we always said, like, this is your baby and it's your baby sister. So small things like just getting him involved with with
Yeah,
her arrival. So, even if it was putting her clothes away and getting her room ready, I'd ask him to help me out. I'd ask him, like, take these clothes, put them in her drawer. And we did up his room and we moved him out into a bigger room. So he got his own space. And now he's very proud of the fact that, that's my sister's room, this is my room. And we kept talking to him about it. We kept asking him how he felt about it, and preparing him in the sense that mom's going to be a little bit busy now with the baby, but we're still there for you and anytime you need. And honestly speaking, I feel like the older ones need far more time than the babies actually do, because
that's true.
they understand what's going on. With the babies, it's just about sort of the feeding and putting them to sleep and a little bit
Right.
of that bonding time. But the older
Yeah.
ones really need a lot more
Yeah.
attention. And I
Yes.
think that also makes it a lot easier on the parents to not feel like they're being torn into two pieces.
True, true. I think the transition is more for the older child
Yeah.
because emotionally it's a huge change for them. And to be able to handle that, I think it also does half the work for you with the second baby arriving and having all that pressure. If your child becomes an ally instead of somebody you really have to constantly check on, it makes your life a lot easier.
Something as simple as when we came home from the hospital, my entire family was downstairs and they were all waiting for us, and everybody was dressed in pink. It was really cute. But I had a huge present that I had already packed in advance and I kept it ready. And
Yeah,
so we carried that with us from the hospital. And my husband took
yeah,
Amalia from me, and I said, no, I think I need to sort of approach Kabir first. So while he
true,
took her
true.
around and sort of introduced her to the entire family, I pulled out a present and I was, giving him a big hug and telling him how much I
Yeah,
missed him. And so he was
yes,
excited
yeah,
because the association with the sister is not that attention is being taken away from me. It was more that, hey, I get a
yeah,
present. One of the parents,
yeah,
between
yeah,
my husband and I, somebody's always with me and giving me attention as well. So it's
yeah,
not that I'm being neglected in any way. Because I think for him to
right.
suddenly see the entire family around one baby would have been a
Yeah,
bit of a shock. So this way it
true.
transitioned really well. And I think
Yeah.
from day one it's been really nice. And now he'll just he'll ask for his sister. He'll ask, can she come for a drive with us, and can she come here with us? So he constantly wants to involve her everywhere as well.
Yes, yes. Because I think he also felt included in her celebration and her arrival. So it has become a part of him. That's actually a great way to handle introducing a new baby to the family. I think our listeners will definitely take a tip from you there. Also,
And I think,
so
even when you have people coming to visit and usually people will get a present for the baby. It's
right.
important for the parents to just have like a little,
Yeah,
backup plan
yeah,
where you've got a whole bunch of presents. So your child doesn't feel
yeah.
that, oh, the baby's gotten something and I haven't gotten anything.
That's true. I think a lot of family, many a times when family is visiting a baby and there's already a child in the family, they tend to be a little sensitive to this fact and they carry something for the older one as well because then it's not nice that you're there and you meet one baby and the other one
Correct.
totally
Yeah.
feels that why am I not getting any attention? The one who's used to being the center.
Correct.
So
Yeah.
it's only fair. I understand that. So, Rachel, moving on to just having had a baby, how was pregnancy during COVID for you? Because I can imagine how stressful it must have been, especially during the second wave. Things were really bad, and people were so unsure of what was going to happen. So, how did you handle that, and what was it like for you?
So this time was actually really tough because I had a lot of sort of it's not postpartum depression, but I was just a lot of
Yeah,
anxiety, and it wasn't just because of COVID, but it was also because of my first delivery with Kabir, and sort of that anxiety was constantly manifesting with the fact that I'm going to have to go through all of this again, and
yeah,
situation where I'm not sure whether my husband will or will not be there in the room with me. Will I have to
allowed.
do this
Yeah.
alone? And then I got COVID in my first trimester,
Oh wow,
and
you did?
that was
And
yeah, and that was
tell us more about
because
that.
the entire household had COVID, and
Oh my God.
so it was just my husband and I that were just 100% hands-on with Kabir. We were in Goa at the
Oh,
time, so he just wanted to be outdoors all the time, and I had severe nausea, really, really bad nausea. So the
goodness.
nausea, the first trimester symptoms coupled with the COVID symptoms, it was just horrible. That 1 month was just terrible.
It
And
must have been
but
so stressful. What did you do? Like, were you allowed any medication? What
I
did your
wasn't
doctor
allowed any
say?
medication. I was only allowed paracetamol. And even that I
Hmm.
was taking sparingly as and when, I started feeling really feverish. And then my son got COVID as well, and he had really high fever for 2 nights. And I think that was probably like my breaking point, where I just felt,
I
I
can
remember
imagine.
breaking down at that point of time because it was also so new and nobody really knew
Yeah,
how to,
what was
approach
happening?
what was happening, right? I got lucky during my delivery time because I delivered Amalia just before the second wave hit and things got really bad.
Hmm.
I had
Yeah,
friends who
yeah,
were due around the same time as me, and they were testing positive till about the last day till they had to go to the hospital. And it was just I like you could relate to the fear and the anxiety over there because I
yeah.
can't imagine sort of going through that whole delivery without having your husband next to you.
Absolutely. Also, having your husband there, there was so much stress around that time. There were no beds. I'm sure pregnant women also must have been looking for space. Hospitals were completely swamped. I don't know what people would have done during that period. And lucky for you that you guys had the delivery right before, and you were then
Yeah.
at home and safely at home and handling all of it. So when you were expecting, you got COVID, but the doctor, like, there was no concern with the baby getting COVID, or uh, after the baby was born, were they conducting any tests in the hospital that if
No,
they had
actually,
COVID?
in a way, I'm glad I had it when I had it because that meant
Yeah,
I got antibodies and she got antibodies as well.
true, true,
So
true.
it just one layer of protection that you can, yeah. So
Yeah,
in a way, I'm
yeah.
just a little bit more relaxed as opposed to if she wasn't exposed to the virus at all.
I think so. I think that's actually a fair point. So yeah, I'm sure, like you said, anxiety during pregnancy, especially now in COVID times, and also when it's your second pregnancy, you already know what's going to happen. You've been
And
through it
sometimes,
once.
sometimes I think that also adds to the anxiety, especially like
True.
in my case, when you've had a really tough first delivery, you keep thinking, what if this happens again? With the
Yeah.
first one, you don't know what to expect. With the second one,
True.
you sort of expect the worst. Let me put it that way.
That's true. That's true. Because you have had the experience and you know exactly what is coming. But yeah, having said that, so tell us what have your hacks been post-pregnancy? How you managed to cope, especially even the postpartum depression, the anxiety in a time of COVID, where there isn't much you can do, there isn't much help also. So how have you managed that, and what have been your hacks and go-tos to survive this period?
So honestly, I think exercise has been a huge part of it. Luckily, I had a natural delivery and I had just a natural tear. So my doctor said I could start working out immediately, like as soon as I got
Yeah,
home, I could start. And
right.
I delivered like, I think 6 days after I delivered her, sorry, my dog is going all over the place. 6 days after I delivered her, I was back in the gym. And I don't know, I
Wow,
put on about 7 kilos, and so far I've lost 10. So I've been, that
that's
the
awesome.
the exercise is what has really helped because then you
Yeah,
sort of have a goal, you're working towards a goal, then you start feeling better about yourself. I feel a lot of
that's
times
true.
what ends up happening is you sort of get into that slump where, and this happened to me in my first pregnancy because I
Yeah,
didn't lose the
yeah,
baby till about a year after Kabir was born. So it was
that's
very
true. I
different,
think, yeah, I think things are different first time around also because you really don't know what to do. I think people are more aware now. There are better diet charts, nutritionists out there who tell you you don't really have to gain that much weight for your baby to be healthy. Like you said, you gained only 7 kgs in your second pregnancy,
Yeah.
which I'm sure your doctor was okay with as long as the baby is gaining the right amount of weight. I think it's so important that we eat right because the best of us have made this mistake during our pregnancies where we've just eaten for not two but three
Yeah, I
and
was just going
gained
to
all the
say we
weight.
don't eat for two, we actually eat for three, thinking that that's what we need to do to our bodies.
Exactly.
I won't lie. I did use it as an excuse in my first pregnancy to just eat whatever I wanted to eat. But with my second pregnancy, I was super careful. Like there's a big difference between, eating healthy, eating right, eating nutritious food, which is what your child really needs,
That's
as
true.
opposed to just eating whatever you want to eat, thinking I need to
That's
be
right.
gaining weight. And I think
Yeah.
this is sort of that old school mentality where they keep saying that, you have to keep eating, you have to keep eating. And
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
after the baby's born, I remember with Kabir, my mom would constantly just be sort of plowing me with food, and I'm just like, I really don't need to eat so much. No, you need it for breast milk production, you need it for this,
Yeah.
you need extra calcium in your body, and blah 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 blah
That's
blah.
right.
This time I just told everybody, just I like, leave me alone. I know what I'm doing,
You
leave
can
me
say
alone.
it. You can
As
say
long
it.
as my baby is growing fine and she's healthy, that's all that sort of concerns me.
I think that's absolutely true because I have had a very similar experience. I think I gained about like 17 kgs for my pregnancy, and it was such a nightmare to get rid of that weight. And these days, people are doing it really smart. They are eating right, they're working out right after they deliver. And I think that's the only way to kick the baby weight. And yes, exercising does make you feel better about yourself. All those, hormones which make you really feel low and postpartum depression, you can definitely fight that if you're active. And being active also, it's just good for you. And if you feel better, your baby feels better. Your baby somehow responds to that. The mother's mood, definitely the child responds to that. So it's important that women also start taking care of their mental health and how they feel about themselves post pregnancy, and everybody should just lay off and let them do whatever they want.
I
Um,
think that's
to
important, give the woman space, because I mean her
Yeah,
body's been through a lot. She's going to be going through a lot. People often think that once the baby's out, it's done, but they don't seem to
yeah,
realize that your hormones have crashed completely. It's going to
absolutely.
take time for your body to sort of get back, not just in shape physically, but also, internally, with whatever's going on with
Yes,
your entire
yes,
hormonal balance. And a lot of times people just forget that and take that for granted.
that's true. That's true. I think once the baby arrives, it becomes all about the baby, and somewhere the woman takes a back seat. She also needs to take care of her health and recoup with the change that she's been through. It's so important, and I think we need to speak more about this. Um, anyway, so Rachel, I think on a lighter note, tell us some of your post-pregnancy favorite products that your go-to products post-pregnancy.
For myself or for the baby?
I think for both, let's start with your list.
Honestly speaking, I don't use too many things. For Amalia, I've been using Mastella from day one, and same with Kabir. So I swear by Mastella as a product. All of their creams and all of their bath products are
Yeah,
just simply amazing. Um, Other than that, I'm just trying to think. I'm not one of those crazy fussy moms who has to have like specific stuff. I'm very particular about skincare because
yeah,
obviously children have very sensitive skin. The
right.
bamboo nature diapers is something that I swear by. I think if somebody had asked me your two top favorite products for babies would be the entire Mistela skincare range and bamboo nature diapers.
Wonderful, wonderful. Great. And what about products for yourself post-pregnancy? Any like magic creams that helped you get rid of those stretch marks? Haven't found any yet.
Luckily, I didn't get too many stretch marks this time because I was super active during my pregnancy. My husband and I would walk 5K every single day. Like till the day before I went to the hospital, I was walking 5K every day. So luckily, I didn't get any stretch marks this time. But honestly speaking, you don't need any fancy creams and fancy oils. I feel something as simple as, cold pressed coconut oil works beautifully. Bio
That's true.
oil is another thing that people swear by. Didn't necessarily work for me, but I know a lot of people that it's worked for.
Yeah,
Um, but I think it's a matter of just finding, what works for you. But it's very important to moisturize your body constantly,
yeah,
especially after you've just delivered, because your skin is sort of getting uh, uh, back into shape, and you need to keep that elasticity in your skin as well. So constantly moisturizing your skin is super important, and
that's
taking
true.
your multivitamins and all your supplements. A lot of times, once you're done with the baby, you kind of forget and start neglecting yourself.
That's
But
true.
constantly taking your supplements is really important. Otherwise, things like hair fall start happening, and all of those
Yeah,
issues.
yeah. A lot of women suffer intense hair fall right after deliveries. So
So
I think,
folic
yeah, this
acid
is
is
a big.
something that you need to take at least for a year. You need to continuously take your folic acid and slowly start weaning it off.
That's right. I think mostly women stop taking their prenatal vitamins as soon as they deliver. But it's a lesser known fact that you need to continue to take some of these because they help you postpartum as well. And there are lots of deficiencies in your body that you need to keep taking these pills for, which is great for you to say that and plug that in there.
Omega 3
So
is
moving
also a very important one that,
important.
yeah.
Yes, yes. That doctors recommend during pregnancy and even post, it's important.
Even
I think,
otherwise, I mean, omega 3 is something that I take on a regular basis.
yeah, I think it just keeps you a little smarter.
I hope so.
All right. So, Rachel, on that note, tell us something about what about breastfeeding? Are there any lactation-inducing foods that, as a food expert, you would probably recommend, or something that you learned during your pregnancies, both during your breastfeeding experience, both the times? And how were
So
they different from the first?
honestly speaking, huge difference. I mean, I remember my doctor telling me this when uh, after Kabir was born, because at that point in time I was sure I didn't want to have a second baby. And he told me, he said, you don't realize, though, if you do change your mind, don't keep it for too late, because you don't realize how much a woman's body changes, especially after one pregnancy. Just a year makes a massive difference. So this was 3 years later, and with Kabir, I was just getting an oversupply of milk, and I was constantly storing milk. With Amalia, it hasn't been the same, where and it's due to age. It's due to a lot of factors as well. So I haven't beaten myself up about it, where I have to sort of supplement with formula. I have been supplementing with formula, and I think a lot of moms feel super guilty about this. But
Yeah,
take it from a mom who's exclusively breastfed the first one for a year, no bottle, nothing. Like Kabir was just on the breast for a year, to
wow,
now
that's a really
where it's
long time.
completely different, where Amalia hates the breast. She only wants the bottle. Like, I had no choice, I had to give her the bottle, because she would constantly keep gagging, and she just refused to sort of take to the breast. And
Yeah,
listen to your baby. I guess like every baby
yeah,
is different, and what you're sort of used to hearing, whether it's from your mom or your mother-in-law, or the older women in your families, just drown it out. Honestly, drown it out. It just, what works for your kid, what works for you, a happy mom, happy baby, that's all you want.
true. Very true. I think a lot of women really take that pressure, especially when it comes to breastfeeding. They really like kill themselves over it. It's about time that we let them be, and they let themselves be, and just do what your baby tells you. Doctors tell us all the time that no two pregnancies are the same, even for the same person. Like you
Yeah.
said, your first pregnancy and your second pregnancy was so different. So we need to let our baby and our bodies decide for themselves and just go with the flow.
No, and I have a lot of friends also who are first time moms, and I can hear the guilt in their voice when they're just telling me things like,
Yeah,
I'm not getting enough of milk, and my
that's
poor
true.
baby. And I'm trying to explain to them as that, your baby's going to get tired if it's constantly sucking at the breast, and
Yeah,
and then it's going to
yeah,
fall asleep. So your baby's not
yeah,
getting enough of milk either way. So you're beating yourself up about something that is not benefiting you. It's not benefiting your kid. And I also have
yeah.
friends who've had babies through surrogacy, and they're formula fed babies. I know people who haven't, like, gotten any milk supply. Their babies are on formula, and their kids are absolutely fine.
Absolutely. I think really, I mean, I'm sure there's importance attached to breast milk, but there are other ways also. Like you really don't need to kill yourself over it. As long as your baby is getting nutrition, as long as you are mentally healthy, that's all that matters, really. And that's what doctors also tell you all the time. I think it's about time we start listening to them.
Yeah.
So, you have spoken about fitness and you told us how important it's been and how you were back in the gym right after your pregnancy. So, do you have any tips to share? What are the things to do? Any diet tips since you are a food expert? what can one do? What can you eat right post pregnancy? And what are the things that you should really not stop doing when it comes to food and nutrition as a pregnant woman, as a lactating mother?
I think it's important. I think it's really important to make sure that you're eating high, like protein intense food. Eggs are really good. Eggs, fish, I didn't really follow any diet per se. In my line of work, it's very difficult to sort of be on a strict diet. And to be honest, I don't believe in diets. I think it's very important to find something that is sustainable, something that you can do for the rest of your life. And it's taken me a while to sort of get there, where I've tried the fatty diets and I've tried to sort of lose weight really, really quick, and then I've found it all back. But what ends up
That's
happening
good.
is you just end up losing water weight. You don't end up losing fat. And
That's
at the
true.
end of the day, the way people need to approach food is just through calorie deficit. If you want to lose weight, put yourself in a calorie deficit, eat healthy, nutritious food, try and eat home food as much as possible. And when you're ordering in from restaurants, just make sure that you're well educated and you know how your food is being prepared and what your food is being prepared in. So it's not that you can't eat outside food, you just have to be smart in what you're ordering. Like, don't order the french fries, or don't order something that's heavily deep fried. Go for something that's steamed or something that's grilled instead.
That's actually a great tip. And I think you very rightly said that fat diets only help you lose water weight and it doesn't really do much for you.
And it also puts you in, like, it's so much of stress, and not to mention hair loss as well. You get a lot of hair loss, you lose a lot of muscle. So when you step on the scale and you actually weigh yourself, you think you've lost weight, but actually you've lost the water and you've lost the muscle. So when you start, and these aren't diets that you can sustain. So the minute you
That's
go
true.
back to a normal eating pattern, you're just going to put on double the amount of weight. So you're better off just finding something that works for you. I don't eat carbs at night. But my carbs come through vegetables. So I'll do a protein and I'll do a vegetable. I'll have carbs for lunch, and my breakfast is also a very protein rich meal. Um, I don't drink sort of fizzy drinks and sodas and things like that. And even alcohol is something that, I do it in moderation. It's not that every weekend I'm out drinking or anything like that. So it's important to have your fun and do what you enjoy, but it's all about moderation and balance.
Absolutely. I think, like you said, that you should be having a balanced diet, eat everything, enjoy yourself as well, but do it in moderation and make good choices, basically.
And portion control. Portion control is a big one. Like, I eat
Portion
chocolate
control, yes.
every single day, every single day.
I hate you. And you've lost 10 kgs.
But it's like literally that piece of chocolate, and I'll keep it in my
Yeah.
mouth and I'll just let it sit there.
Yeah.
And then, I get that satisfaction that I've eaten something that I enjoy, that I've not deprived myself of it. Because
Yeah.
honestly speaking, you deprive, like, I know I have a friend of mine who went on an all green diet, and I was just like, you're nuts. This is not going to last more than 2 weeks. And it didn't.
It cannot. It just
You
cannot.
can't
I
you
think
can't eat
this
boiled green food for 2 weeks
for the
continuously.
rest
Like,
of your life.
no,
Yeah.
you can't. And that's not a
It's just
happy
not
person.
possible. Yeah, and be a happy person. These things just cannot happen together. And I think you're so right. The operative word when it comes to diet is that you feel deprived. You constantly feel that you're sort of missing out and you're delaying. Like when I reach that goal weight, that's when I'll go and live and I'll do what I want to do and I'll eat what I want to eat. So delaying the gratification and the deprivation of it all. I think you just need to find the thing that works for you. What diet and what exercise combo works for you is what we need to really find, and what's sustainable.
And honestly, for people who are really looking to lose weight, a lot of people think just cardio, 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 cardio is so important. Initially, after, if you want to drop the baby weight really fast, cardio helps like mad. But then after that, you need to get back into weight training, because weight training is so important. And the amount of calories that you actually burn while you're weight training is a lot more than what you would burn if you were just doing cardio. So I think a combination of cardio and weight training is very important.
That's an amazing tip. I think that will be very helpful for a lot of moms trying to drop the weight. All right, so that is really good, Rachel. Thank you so much for sharing all these interesting facts about losing weight post-pregnancy. We can move on to maybe something a little sweeter. Tell us a little bit about your book, Adventures with Mithai. I'm quite curious. You have, in the middle of everything else, managed to write a book. So tell us more about it. How was the experience?
It was crazy because I actually wrote the book in 2 months. We wrote, published, shot everything in 2 months.
Are you
And
serious?
yeah, so the book came out in October, and in December I won the award for the Gourmand Award for the best dessert book from India. And then in January I won the same Gourmand Award for the best dessert book in the world. So that
Wow,
was
that is
really
amazing.
unexpected. And I always said if I wrote a recipe book, the Gourmand Award was something that I really wanted. Like this is what I wanted. So it's
You
like the
totally
Oscars.
manifested it.
I definitely think I manifested it, and I worked my butt off on the book, and it's great to see how that now it's that trend has really picked up, and
Yeah,
there's so many people now who are doing modern mithai or taking mithai and doing
right.
something very contemporary with it.
Right, right.
But I
I think
like to think
that
that
is
I
act
did it first.
that is true, and I think you did it well too. So tell us, any more books in the offing? Are you thinking of writing something interesting for us again?
So I have been in talks with my publisher about doing book number two. But right now I honestly have my hands full, and it's not something that, when I do something, I sort of like put all myself into it. And which is why I like to do things in a short frame of time. So if you tell me I'm
That's
giving you a
true.
year to do this, I'll
Yeah,
probably end up doing it in the last 2 months of that year. But it's
yeah,
just sort of I thrive on that kind of stress, and that sort of gets me going. And I like that little bit of that adrenaline rush that you have when you're just meeting a deadline. And maybe it's the whole sort of journalism background and the writer background where you work on deadlines, and deadlines is what
yeah.
really sort of motivates you.
Gets
But
you, yeah,
yeah, so I
gets you
think
to get the job done.
yeah, I mean, I have been writing. I've been doing a lot of writing actually, but doing a book requires a lot of research, especially if you're doing a recipe book. Um,
True.
it's very easy to churn out a book that hasn't been done before and figure out a concept that hasn't been done before. That's the tough bit. So I don't want to just do something for the sake of doing it.
That's right. I think very, very rightly so. And speaking of you as a food expert and a mom, tell us how you manage to get your toddler to eat healthy. And I'm sure a lot of mothers here listening to us will also would like to take a tip or two from you over it, how to get them to eat healthy.
So honestly speaking, I we give Kabir table food. Like so whatever we eat, he eats. It's just that the spice levels are toned down for him. But
Yeah.
other than that, we've introduced Kabir to everything. I remember we were in Phuket in 2019, and Kabir was hardly two. He wasn't even two. He was about a year. Yeah, he was about a year and a half old, and he's sitting in Phuket and having his Thai curry and having sort of
Wow.
like yeah, and he was eating prawns, and he was just eating everything, and everyone there was just staring at me, saying, "How is your kid eating all this food?" Because we're so used to people in hotels just saying, chicken nuggets or French fries or
Blended.
pasta
Yeah.
and just really bland stuff. And I said, no, we give him everything, introduce him to
Yeah.
everything. And I think it's important to start that from a younger age where they get into this habit of trying different foods. So,
I
and
think
Kabir,
so.
I think Kabir is definitely a foodie. He likes to try new stuff. He knows what he wants. He knows what he likes. So if he goes to a restaurant, he knows exactly what he wants to order. But he's not one of those kids who refuses to try anything. So if he likes spaghetti, then I'll chop up broccoli really fine and I'll mix it in his spaghetti. Um, so I think the vegetables are super important. Um, we don't give him too much of sugar. That's more of like a treat.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's
I
more,
think so.
he has to have fruit twice a day. He has to have his glass of milk. Um, I think parents sort of tend to overthink it sometimes. And when you
That's
overthink
true.
it, you're constantly feel like I have to do this and my kid has to be
Yeah.
eating this. And sometimes kids just don't like something, and that's fine. There's always a substitute to it.
True. I think it becomes a struggle and a tug of war where you're constantly trying to check every box that if my child has eaten this, and if they're refusing it, then it just blows out of proportion. And mothers and like even fathers now, parents tend to get really stressed about the foods that the child is not eating. Like you said, that you give him sugar as a treat once in a while. And to get them to eat everything, I think that really encourages them to it also makes your life so much easier if you're traveling, even if you're not at home, if you're busy, whatever you cook at home, if your child eats without creating a fuss, it just makes your life easy. So I
Oh,
think
for
yes,
sure. And Kabir
we
is a weird kid. Like he loves rasam, Like I'm just like, which kid likes rasam? Like you're 2 years old.
that's
Like why are
unusual.
you? And he'll be like, Mama, I want rasam and papad and rice. Thank you. But
That is adorable. For the record, I also love rasam, so we have that in common.
yeah, but it's very odd for like a kid to sort of
Yeah,
ask for rasam. You
yeah,
know what I
it's
mean? Like
unusual.
he's very
Yeah,
specific about what he wants to eat.
yeah. But at least he has quite a palate then. If he's up for if
He
he's
does.
tried a
And I
rasam,
honestly think it encourages a certain level of independence also, where they are
yeah,
making their own choices and they feel like I
yes,
have a say in this.
yeah, yeah. I think agency is important for us to introduce that to a child that you do have agency and you can decide what you want to eat and what you like. It's also your decision, which instills confidence as well. So
Yeah.
I think that's actually a very good way of approaching food choices to children. They also feel they'll also constantly not resist what you're trying to get them to eat then.
Yeah,
They feel
that's
like
true.
they're a part of it. That's actually really cool. So, moving on, Rachel, you do run a very successful business, and I know that you're really busy. You recently came up with some cloud kitchens as well. So, tell us how did you baby-proof your business? Because once having one baby and running a successful business is difficult. You have two. So how do you do that? What are your, I think, for the risk of repetition, but still, I would like to ask you, what are the things, what are the tips that you would like to give working mothers on things they can do to help baby-proof their life and their careers?
First thing I would say is take the guilt out of it completely. Stop feeling guilty. This is something I went through with Kabir, and where I constantly would feel guilty for just going to work and showing up at work and being away from home. With Amalia, my mindset has changed completely because I can see, Kabir, your kids sort of watch what you're doing and they imitate what you're doing. And then the minute they see that work ethic, the minute they sort of understand that you're working towards something. So we like to involve Kabir in a lot of things. So if I recently I've been doing up two of my spaces, and I've been taking Kabir to site with me. I've been getting his opinion, asking him what does he think of this and all. So the kids also sort of get involved. I'm lucky enough where I can take him to work with me. So every now
Mm,
and then, whenever possible, he'll come to work and he's got his cars over there. So he'll sit, he'll play with his cars. He knows everybody in the office. He goes, he says hi to all the fish in his fish tank. And it's nice to get them also involved in that part of your life where they don't feel like, this is something that's separate from me. So I think it's really, really important to have that balance where your kid also feels like they're involved in your work somehow or the
yeah,
other, and that way
yeah,
it becomes fun for you also, where you don't feel like I have to leave my kid at home and not take my kid to work, or I can't
yeah.
involve my kid in anything to do with work. When we're doing food trials, Kabir is a big part of the food trials. I
I think
actually
with
started
a
a line of products just for kids because of him. Like when he joined preschool, there were all these sort of restrictions of, no sugar and no gluten and no nuts and stuff like that. So I started a line for kids called Sassy Littles, and
yeah,
everything
I've
was
heard of
refined
it.
sugar free, made with just natural fruit sugar or jaggery. We used zucchini, carrot. There was just no maida in anything. So just very, very healthy stuff, and the mums loved it. The mums loved it. The
Absolutely.
kids loved it.
Oh,
So now we do it on order. But
wonderful. That's really good.
yeah, so he's my guinea pig for a lot of stuff. So he's actually my little right hand man.
I think so. I think not only have you made your career business baby proof, you've also included him and really put him to work. So
Oh,
that's a
I
great
actually
tip.
put him to work. Kabir has been like the mascot of Sassy Little, so we use him as part of our photo shoots.
Yeah, I think he's inspiring your work and making it grow. And I think it's such a cool idea because as a mother myself, I think I constantly struggle to find healthy snack for my child. And I don't want to give her anything which is too packaged or which has too much sugar or which has unhealthy ingredients. So for a mother also who's a food expert to come up with a line, I think mothers would definitely, I think that's a great idea, and you have totally inspired your motherhood journey into turning into a successful venture as well. So that is like congratulations to you on that one.
Thank you.
And so yeah, Rachel, with all that you have done, tell me what's next.
Definitely no more babies, that's for sure.
That's
But
right.
we're just hoping that restaurants open up soon, so
Yeah,
we can get back to doing what we're meant to be doing.
yeah,
It's been quite a tough 2 years, I won't lie. And
yeah.
we've had to pivot our entire business model to being delivery friendly, and that's one of the main reasons why we've gotten into the cloud kitchen space as well. So we just recently launched an Indian brand called Saffron by Sassy. We've used this time to sort of renovate our spaces as well. So House of Mandarin Banda is just recently renovated and it's looking stunning. So just use this time a lot to get better, and just waiting to sort of get started and being able to go back to doing what I'm meant to be doing.
I think so. I think I was definitely going to ask you that because hospitality and food industry have really taken a hit during the pandemic. And like you said, you have taken this time to improve upon things that you really can't do much about when it's, busy and business
Yeah.
time, like renovating your space and experimenting and coming up with a new place. What are some of the other tips or some of the other steps that you've taken during this period to work on your business or to bring about that change, being in this industry?
So we've had to downsize a lot, and really sort of, squeeze the most out of the teams that we have. And I think the good thing that's come out of it is that we've realized that we can do so much with
Yeah,
few people, because obviously with
yeah,
social distancing and having limited number of people, that so as soon as the pandemic hit, it was literally just a small group of people who were doing everything. I remember I didn't even have a graphic designer on board, and I needed a design for my Diwali hampers. So I pulled out my
hmm.
wedding card. I actually pulled out my wedding card and I said, guys, just use this, and and
That is
and
so
and let's so it's just like you sort
resourceful.
of yeah, so you have to become resourceful, because you can't afford it anymore, and you can't afford that
That's true.
luxury anymore. So we've
That's
been
true.
working on smaller budgets, and I think the nice thing about it is that I've seen how creative my team can be. I've seen when like really pushed to the limit how everybody sort of their abilities which are probably outside of their scope of work. People
Yeah.
suddenly are so talented. I've got a manager in Sassy Spoon Pawai who he's a brilliant manager, and he runs a restaurant so well, and he's great with guest relations. But we discovered he's a fabulous photographer as well. So now he
Wow,
does
that's
all our
really
food
cool.
photo shoots. So it's just a matter of everybody's talent suddenly started coming out.
I think so. I think that's what COVID has done for all of us. We have all suddenly become really creative. We found like really interesting ways of working from home. Our team, for example, we every morning we log into this one room and everybody just stays logged in and keeps doing their own thing. And if you need something, you just call upon the other person. People have become so creative to just get the ball rolling and to be more productive in this period. So really, businesses that are surviving and thriving during this period, I'm sure they're doing something right. And
But
this is the
having
time
said
to
that,
really
I
learn.
do miss the office. I don't enjoy working from home because I think it's important to have that divide. I think it's really, really important to have that
Yeah,
divide, especially for the kids, right? Because they're
I
used
agree.
to the minute, mom and dad come home, then you switch
Yeah,
off from work. You put your phone
yeah.
away, you put your laptop away, and that's their time. Now those lines have gotten so blurred that I feel it's very unfair to my son, especially now, where I have to tell him, listen, mama's on a call, or listen, I've got
Yeah.
like, I've got a Zoom call now. And he's so aware. He'll ask me like even this call now, he was just like, okay, so I have to go somewhere else because I can't make noise. I said, yes, you gotta go somewhere else because you can't make noise.
That's true. I think very rightly so, because this is happening, with work from home. I feel so guilty sometimes that when my daughter comes in to ask me something, now that you're around, they're going to come and talk to you, right? And I have
Yeah.
to say, no, 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 I'm on a call, like just go away. And it really, you feel so guilty later that you're just shooing them away all the time. But what do you do? This is a new reality, and the same with her. I'm also shooed out of her room all the time when she has a class or she's in school.
Oh, but Kabir is super
And
sharp because I mean we were working from home throughout the lockdown, and now we've been going back to the office, and he just turns to us and he says, "Well, why can't you work from home? That's a
yeah,
thing."
yeah,
And I'm just
that's
like,
the
"Oh
thing.
God, like why did I
Yeah,
explain
yeah.
this whole concept to you?"
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, they are that transition again. I think it'll be very difficult to go back to work now, leaving your children, because we've had so much quality time together, and that is another issue that we're going to face now. Even we are slowly coming back to office. So yeah, I miss
I
those
think it's honestly very
lunches.
important for schools to start reopening.
Oh
I
yeah,
mean, for
man.
me, it is a big cause for concern because I have seen how Kabir has sort of taken this whole pandemic. I think has been the worst for the children because
That's
especially
true.
kids, especially toddlers. I mean, this is that phase of their life where they're learning social skills, they're
Social
learning how to
skills.
solve problems, they're learning how to interact with each other,
Yeah,
how to
yeah,
share, how to do all of those
yeah.
things where you don't learn those things at home. They're learning to sort of fight and sort
True,
it out within themselves.
true,
Just
true.
being within four walls and having your parents and having that security is just so bad for their growth because
Yeah,
they need to
yeah.
be out there and they need to be in a space where everybody has sort of equal footing.
I
And
agree with you because we
I
are not
don't
talking about
I
it
don't
enough.
know why they don't start schools. I mean, they really, really need to because I can see studies being done on this age group, like once they're a little bit older, to see how
I
they've
think
sort of,
so.
their emotional maturity
Managed.
also.
Yeah, yeah. Because you're absolutely right that this is a time, there is a reason scientifically that children start going to school at this age. It's time now to be exposed to that social setup, to be able to understand how to cope with it. But emotionally and mentally, they're not getting that exposure and they're not getting to learn those skills right now. And by the time they go back to school, I don't think people are talking about it enough. Even mental health experts are not talking about it enough, that children are really affected during the pandemic. People are, yes, people who are working from home, yes, the lines are blurred and they're not getting refreshed enough, or they're not getting that much time. They're waking up and they're working, they're going to bed and they're working, yes, but adults are still able to cope with it. They know that something is up. Children don't even know what's happening with them. They are really going to look back and realize when they go back to school that, oh, this is what school looks like. Some of the toddlers who haven't even gone to school and they only know their school in a laptop. It's it's
It's
it's
not
so sad. I
normal.
mean,
It's not normal
it's
for
not
these
normal.
kids to be stuck in front of a laptop and think
Yeah,
that is social interaction. I mean, if you think about it, before the pandemic, one of the biggest concerns parents had was screen time for kids. And
absolutely.
now
And
we're the
now,
ones putting our kids in front of a screen saying this is where you learn from. And how do you
exactly.
switch that behavior off later on? So these things are very, very worrisome for me because I saw Kabir. There was a point of time where Kabir, we just weren't interacting with anybody, especially when I was pregnant. And I
Yeah,
remember at that
yeah.
point of time, Kabir had gotten very aggressive. If you didn't give in to what he wanted, he'd throw something or he'd throw a tantrum, and the word no just didn't seem to exist in his vocabulary. Now
That
we've
was
been
hap
sort of interacting within bubbles, so there's a
Yeah,
group of about five of us, and all of our kids are around the same age, and they are the
yeah.
ones who are constantly playing with each other. And we just are very open with each other, where we say if the kids fight, let them sort it out themselves. Somebody pushes
I
somebody
think
else,
so.
let the parents not intervene,
Let them
because
figure
this is the most we can do in a sort
Yeah.
of non, you know, conventional
In
classroom
during unprecedented
setup.
times, yeah, because these are definitely uh, we don't know how to cope with these times, and this has never happened in the history before. We don't know what to do with how to expose these children to the social
But
setup.
if you ask me
And
honestly, I feel like this virus is something that we're going to have to live with. I mean, you can't live a life in lockdown forever. It's something that
yeah,
is not going to go away anytime soon. I mean, we're hearing of people getting vaccinated who've sort of gotten the bug again, and
yeah,
there's just no you can't just be
end to
stuck at
this.
home, because I'm saying the long-term repercussions that it's going to have on our children are probably going to be
Yeah.
far worse.
Yes, yes, absolutely. I think we are not thinking of that enough, and we are really not taking into account the impact it's going to have on this generation. All kids, the younger ones, yes, even the older ones. These are times for friendships. These are times to develop these bonds, and they're all at home, and they're not. I mean, I was talking to somebody the other day, and she was a young girl, all of 25, and she said that when the lockdown started, I was 23, and now I'm 25, and I haven't met
Where's
anyone,
my
and this is
life
my
gone?
time to meet people and fall in love, and people are just missing out on all of that. So it can be a very difficult period. I think we are all really going to look back and find out what really happens after and how we cope with it. Some are enjoying that time together and the quality time, but definitely on children, it'll have an impact that will be something to speak about, and we'll really need to look at how kids cope with this
Which is
going
why I think it's
forward.
very important for the parents to sort of keep talking to their kids and constantly keep
Yeah,
communicating with their children. That
yeah,
and that was one of the main reasons why my husband and I decided to have a second baby. Because when the lockdown happened,
yeah,
I was dead against the second one, and he said, you know what? Like, look what Kabir is going through. He's alone, and if he had some
yeah.
company, it would be very
It
different.
gets lonely.
And that's when I realized, you know what, he's absolutely right. Having a sibling in within themselves, there is a bond. Within themselves, there will be socializing happening. There's so many things that they can learn from each other. So
That's true.
it's important to have that company, especially when you're so young.
Absolutely. I think very true. There were a lot of people who are for single kids, but yes, during the lockdown, we definitely have realized that you need friends at home and inside your house for that social
And mom and
interaction,
dad are
and
not friends.
they're not.
Mom
They
and dad are
cannot be, no matter
selective
how hard
friends.
we try.
Mom and dad are very selective friends when you need something. Could we like it was so horrible. I mean, now that I think about it, my kid is there telling me, "Hey, I want this toy," and I'm like, "Kabir, you can't get this toy. Just order it on Amazon."
Oh
Like
yeah,
a
they know
3-year-old is telling
everything.
me, "Please order this for me from Amazon." I said, "Money doesn't grow on trees, Kabir. You have to earn it."
Yeah,
Okay, but you're earning
yeah.
it, so that's fine.
Yeah, I think, yeah, imagine how much they can think now that they know that everything is accessible, even if you're stuck at home.
Yeah,
But
but the thing
yeah,
is, as
it's cute.
parents, you want to say no, you want to be disciplined, but
Yeah,
when you know your
yeah,
kid can't go outside, your kid can't run around, your kid can't go for a
yes,
bike ride,
yes.
you can't keep your kid busy
You
with
let them,
activities and stuff. So you
true,
have to give in at some point of time because you also
somewhere.
feel really bad at some level. And
Yeah,
then you're
yeah,
having this debate with yourself saying, am I spoiling my kid? Am I giving in too
yeah,
much? Is
yeah,
this good for my kid? Like, it's so
yeah,
confusing for parents also,
yes,
what to do. And there's absolutely no manual for this. I
true.
don't I wish somebody could tell me what to do. So right now we're just experimenting with our own kids, to be very honest.
I think you're so right because, yes, there is no way to ask them to do the right thing. I'm constantly struggling to ask my daughter to sleep on time because I don't want her to not be fresh for her classes. But how much, like, how much of how much can you ask them to refrain from doing this and doing that and not even talk to their friends? So it's I think it's an ongoing process. We're also learning along the way and what's right and what's not. It's super difficult in this time. They don't get tired, they don't go out, they're not playing, they're not meeting anybody. How do you get them to follow a routine is also quite a task.
So honestly, that has really helped me, having making sure that Kabir has a routine has really helped. So he still goes to bed at the same time every day. He has to be up at a certain time. He has to have a certain amount of exercise where he's tiring himself out. A little bit of art
That's
every
good.
day. So we'll do silly things like we just put up newspaper on his wall so he can paint on the wall. but on the newspaper, not on the wall. But whatever you can do, I mean, we got so creative during the lockdown, and it really helped that we were in Goa because we had the outdoors. But now that we're back in
True.
Bombay and you're within four walls, it's not the same.
Again, it gets frustrating. Yeah. Yeah. For
Oh, yeah.
children, especially because they're not getting
Oh,
that time
it's
out.
frustrating for adults, so I can only imagine what kids must be going through.
That's true. That's very true. I think it has been a very difficult time for children. And hopefully, sometime soon, schools will open and they'll go back to their classroom and meet their teachers and their friends. Um, let's just hope that the vaccines come in really soon for the children as well. That's a no.
I don't know about the vaccine for kids, to be very honest. That's just my opinion. Because there's so much of trial and error also that's been happening, right? And I
Yeah,
don't know whether parents would be comfortable giving the vaccine to their kids. I don't know if
that's
there's
true.
enough. I mean, it's different to take it yourself when you have a certain level of immunity that you've naturally developed over the years as an adult. But
That's
to
right.
give it to such a small child, I'm not so
Yeah,
sure. A lot of times, I feel I honestly feel like just developing a natural immunity is probably better. But
definitely.
having said that, I really hope schools don't open with a caveat that children have to be vaccinated because that is going to be a very tough battle to fight.
Yeah, I think a lot of parents are. In fact, we with Rabitat we conducted a survey recently where we asked a lot of parents as to what their opinion is on vaccination and whether they'd like to vaccinate their children. We're going to release that very soon. But yeah, it was very surprising some of the results that we found that quite a few are on the fence about this. So let's see what happens. I think. Really, it's very hard to say at this point as to what to expect. We don't know about the third wave as well.
To be honest, I feel like we're in the middle of the third wave already, and there's going
Yeah,
to be a fourth wave, there's going to be a fifth wave, and this is just going to continue till, we all sort of learn to live with it.
how to live with it, yeah, to cope with it. That's true. Very true. So this is not going anywhere, and
I think life has to go
hopefully,
on after a certain point of time. Life has to go on because if this pandemic has also taught us anything with the number of people that we've lost and people who've fallen ill and family in
yeah,
general, it's just like how important it is to actually live and
true, true.
just
In the
being.
moment, enjoy yourself.
Yeah,
Yeah. Do your thing. I mean, don't stop for anything or anyone because, yeah, life goes on. Everybody has moved on.
I
Second
think life
wave
has to
felt,
go on. We don't really have a choice over here.
yeah, it really felt like the end of the world when we were in the middle of the second wave and things were really bad. It felt like it just cannot get worse. But we are wired in such a way that human beings are back and we are at it again and we are just living and it just feels absolutely normal, like nothing ever happened. So yeah, I think human beings are quite resilient and we can move on. So hopefully,
I hope the government
uh,
is listening to you.
yeah, I hope so too. Let's make some noise and make them listen to us. I'm with you on that one. So, yeah, it's been such a great chat, Rachel. Thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure. And we've spoken about everything from, the pandemic to pregnancy to business. It's been so insightful. I'm sure lots of mums are really going to enjoy this chat. And I can't wait for us to chat again soon. And hopefully, once things are normal, we'll come to Bombay and we'll maybe sit together for a cup of coffee at Sassy
Yes, that
Spoon.
would be nice.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. And hope to have you on Meet the Mom again soon.